guess I'm public works.
How'd you like that?
I like it.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'll call this recommending committee meeting of January 5th to order. Are we in compliance with the open meeting law?
We are.
This meeting has been posted in various locations throughout the city. And now we will go to the item on our agenda, which is noted as number 3, and that is Bill number 2008-57, annexation number ANX 29903, property location approximately 1,350 feet east of the North Wallop Highway alignment, fronting the exit ramp for Clark County Highway 215. This is petitioned by the Las Vegas Valley Water District, acreage 5.08 acres, zoned RE, county zoning CV, city equivalent, and sponsored by Councilman Stephen D. Ross.
Yes, committee, this is a routine owner petitioned annexation, single parcel. Everything's in order. Recommend approval.
I have not had any questions come to me or any concerns voiced to me. Do we have anybody from the audience who would wish to speak on this matter? If not, Councilman, what's your pleasure?
Move for due pass.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There is a due pass on the item. Going to the next item, number 4, Bill number 200858, annexation number ANX 30397, property location on the southeast corner of Florine Avenue and Tomsick Street, petitioned by Daniel Shannon, acreage 1.42 acres, zoned RE, county zoning RE, city equivalent, sponsored by Councilman Stephen Ross.
This is also a single parcel petition by the owner annexation. Everything is in order, and we recommend approval.
And again, other than this, I have had no comments to me on this particular item. Councilman, did you have any questions? And is there any question or comment from the audience? Anybody in the audience?
The only question that I have is, this is a matter of a county property annexing into the city of Las Vegas, and they will now tie into the city services.
If they haven't already, yes.
If they haven't already. Okay. With that being said, thank you for the clarification.
When you move from the county into the city, do you pay a higher tax rate? Yes, you do. I thought so. Okay.
I'm glad you were there to answer that.
Johnny on the spot.
Well, the reason why is I know several areas that want to annex into the city who feel our services are much better, but they're concerned because of additional taxes.
Yeah, there is a uniqueness with the abatement process that was under AB 49 that makes it even more onerous for them to annex in, because they lose the abatement on the piece of the value that is just the city's, but now with values dropping, that's less of an issue. But there is a tax rate increase because they're paying property tax.
Well, maybe with the lowering of half of that, some more might be willing to do that, because I know many of them wanted to. All in favor?
Aye.
If you made that motion?
I move for due pass.
All right, all in favor? Aye. And the motion passes.
Aye.
May we move to item number 5? Bill number 2008-59, updates remedies and procedures pertaining to enforcement of the city's rights in drainage easements. This also is sponsored by Councilman Stephen Ross.
Yes, this was requested by our Public Works Department, and Councilman Ross agreed to sponsor it. Apparently, the staff felt like we could better describe the circumstances under which encroachments in drainage easements ought to be described by ordinance, and also increase our remedies. So this ties such an encroachment, gives us the ability to proceed against it as a nuisance, as we do with other nuisances in the city, and also describes the process for getting approval for encroaching in drainage easements, and also authorizes the Public Works Director to designate, along with the approval of the city manager, other employees of the city besides just Public Works people who could enforce that. So that would probably translate to code enforcement. We recommend approval.
Do we have any comments or additions or anything from the audience? If not, Councilman?
I would like to move for due pass.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion do passes. The next item, Bill number 2008-60, establishes a framework for transitioning the licensing and regulation of child care facilities within the city to the Nevada Bureau of Services for Child Care and provides for prospective repealer of the Child's Care Regulations, sponsored by Councilman Stephen Ross.
Councilman Tarkanian and Councilman Barlow, staff is recommending that this bill be adopted. Essentially what this bill would include would mean that the state, through its regulatory authority, would be handling new license applications for child care facilities and directors of child care facilities on the adoption of this bill until the city transitions over to the state its full authority to regulate child care on May 8th of 2009. In the meantime, all existing licensed facilities and employees and directors of facilities would be under the city's regulatory authority until May 8th of 2009. This bill will also amend the child care facility definition and family care home definition to license those facilities very consistently with the state's regulations, and that would be for more than 4 children if they are enrolled in either a family care home or a child care facility. At the present time, the city's Las Vegas Municipal Code requires a license for 1 or more children that are being cared for under the city's ordinance. So we would be consistent now with the state's definition, and anyone more than 4 would require a license. The last thing it does is that it will repeal Las Vegas Municipal Code 6.24, which gives the city the authority to regulate child care for licensed facilities in the city of Las Vegas. That entire chapter of the Las Vegas Municipal Code would be repealed on May 8th of 2009, therefore giving the state full regulatory authority to regulate child care facilities here in the city of Las Vegas. Now, it would be consistent with the city of Henderson and the city of North Las Vegas. The state already regulates licensed facilities in those jurisdictions. The First Amendment that is being proposed, Val, and I'll go ahead if you don't mind. The First Amendment to this bill would also amend in 6.86050 an applicant for a work card where heretofore the employees of child care facilities that are licensed under 6.24 would have to submit to Metro Fingerprinting for a work card will be repealed from 6.86 under the work card provisions on the adoption of this as a First Amendment. Right now, the state under NRS 492A170 gives the state the authority to seek background investigations on employees and licensees of facilities that they regulate under their NRS statute. And typically the state utilizes the Metro Fingerprinting and Henderson Police Department and North Las Vegas Police Department for doing their background investigations. So this repeals the requirement by employees of licensed facilities to go through Metro's fingerprinting through our code, but they will do that through the state's regulation under NRS.
Will it be as stringent?
Yes, it will be.
You're sure?
We're very consistent. They do an FBI fingerprinting through the state, and we do the same thing here through Metro currently.
So they
under
will
our
be
license.
required to be fingerprinted, and it will go through the FBI?
Yes, that's correct.
And you're saying that this will bring us in line with the other jurisdictions in the valley,
That's correct.
including the county?
The county does not do that at this point in time. They regulate their own child care facilities. They use Metro fingerprinting for their background investigations, but the other cities do. North Las Vegas and Henderson have been doing that for years.
Can I ask you why you felt you should do this? And that is because I did have some calls on this from people who are concerned that if it leaves jurisdiction of the city, that they will not have the quality of oversight.
There were several reasons for us proposing this to the city council. One major one was a cost savings measure that we realized actually even before the fundamental service review. we found that it was costing the city nearly $750,000 to operate this program here with the City Business Services Division, and it only generated about $22,000 in revenue. The other thing is we have, in the child care industry, you have corporate child care, corporately run child care facilities. And many of the new facilities that are coming into Las Vegas, the Valley area, they have different sets of regulations for the state and different sets of regulations for the cities. The City of Henderson and the City of North Las Vegas being under the state's regulatory authority, the procedure to get a license with those entities was very consistent. And many of the corporations that we had talked to said, why are your regulations different? Why do you make me go through these kind of hurdles when the state only requires this? So in order to be consistent within the Las Vegas Valley, we felt that this was another good opportunity for us to transition to the state. The other thing is, too, in looking at our regulations and the city and the state's regulations, many times during the year they go through a review to see what they would have to do to update them. The city traditionally has been a little bit more stringent than the state, but again, we would probably be coming back before the city council numerous times because the state does change their regulations so often, at least once or twice a year, that we would have to come back before the city council to do that, to adopt the state's regulations. So those are just a few of the reasons that we wanted to transition this to the state.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I'm Mark Vincent, interim city manager. Jim, could you also explain the difference in terms of the services the state would provide, or the expertise that the state has in doing that regulation as compared to the expertise of your license officers?
Okay.
Because I think that's different as well.
It is. The state investigators are trained as social service workers, and typically what they will do in a facility is they will go in and they will educate the individual on the methods to care for children, as well as make sure that the regulations are being complied with. Our license officers are not educated in social service work. They are enforcement officers, and they will go in to enforce the code. And so there was, again, another difference in how the state treats the employees of the facilities and utilizes more of an educational process than we do when we do our enforcement from the city standpoint.
So you feel that the quality would remain good? Well, that was the major question that had come to me. Did you have any questions?
No, actually, Jim, you did a very good job as far as explaining the reasoning as to the transition. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And any comments from the audience or any words of wisdom?
My name is Teddy Russell. I'm a resident of Las Vegas. I understand rather...
You want to come to the mic,
Oh, I'm
Teddy?
sorry.
You could come to this one if you want to.
My name is Teddy Russell. I'm a resident of Las Vegas. I understand somewhat clearly what is going on here, somewhat of a bridge. I'm very much in favor of this in the sense of a parity across the valley concerning the cities, sort of a virtual consolidation. I consider this would be an increase in a protective nature and a more compassionate caretaking of our children, as opposed to what was, as mentioned, merely enforcement. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilman?
Yes, I would like to follow the recommendation of Mr. Teddy Russell, move for due pass.
That's with the First Amendment, and by the way, that's in front of you, that has those changes that Jim described.
As amended.
As amended, okay. All in favor? Aye. The motion passes. We will now move to the next item, 7. Bill number 2008-61 establishes electric utility service rather than water service as the basis for requiring a property to subscribe to mandatory solid waste collection service, sponsored by Councilman Stephen Ross.
I will do my best to start the discussion on this. Councilman Ross was approached about the fact that in many places in the in the city, landscaping dies when properties become unoccupied, because the trigger under our current code for subscribing to mandatory waste collection is water service. And so what is happening apparently is that when people abandon the homes, or they have a rental property that's not occupied, in order to avoid the waste collection charge that they would have to pay, they don't continue their water service, and so the landscape dies. So the proposal here is to change the basis from water service to electrical service, with the hope that that people will keep their water service in place, so that both either owners or owners associations can continue to landscape properties without having to pay for waste collection service. So that's the proposal before you.
Can we have comments?
Madam Chair, Bob Coyle with Republic Services. I just wanted to say that Councilmember Ross's office consulted with Republic Services on this, and we were supportive of the change that they wanted to make.
I really think it's a good change because of the fact that we have had these questions come up so often, at least I've had with families who move out, and they'll say, well, I can't put on the water because then I have to pay for disposal, and why am I paying for disposal when there isn't any thing being disposed? So from that point of view, it's I feel good. I haven't looked into it fully as much as I would like to, but it seems good.
Just for clarification, will this bill basically state that one would have to keep the utilities on?
A little bit of background. We used to have in the code that if you generated garbage, you had to subscribe to the collection service provided by Republic and its predecessors. That became a real difficult thing to enforce as far as who generates garbage and who doesn't. So in order to simplify the process, the decision was made to tie it to water service, under the theory that if someone is there using water, they're also producing garbage. The change here is to go to electrical service, the theory being if electrical service is being subscribed to, someone is there probably generating garbage, and so that's the way of...
Versus water?
Yes. And obviously there may be a difference. There may be some who use water and not electricity and vice versa, but it's a way of measuring the likelihood that someone is generating garbage.
Councilmember Barlow, the other thing I'd mention is that the city is much less stringent than the county. The county requires, in order for someone to cancel their trash collection service in the county, you have to produce documentation that all of your utilities are off. The city only required water, which would now be only electricity.
I couldn't hear that. Would you just say the last 2 or 3 sentences again?
The city is much less stringent in its requirements than the county is. The county requires that a customer provide documentation that all of their utilities are off. Southwest Gas, Nevada Power, water service, so that the city really only requires one utility as opposed to all of the utilities being off.
If I may, just to sort of help, I mean, what we're trying to do is look for an objective trigger for when you bill and when you don't. And so obviously generation of garbage is up for dispute sometimes, and having been involved in this, whose garbage is that on the street when they, move it over to your side or what have you. There's always those issues. The reality is, in today's environment, people that may have vacation homes here that may be gone, they have electric sprinkler systems, and very unlikely going to turn off their power and leave their water on. If they do that, their lawn's going to die because there's not going to be any automatic watering anyway. If they are watering, the issue in the past has been that you may have lawn service when you're gone. Someone's got to come and maintain that. What do they do with the bags of grass when they leave? Do they take it with them, or do they put it out in the street?
Because that did come up, right.
So those are always some of the issues. But I think the objective measure of whether it be water or power, it's a matter of preference, I think, ease of application, but the reality is it's very unlikely they would you would have, shut your power off, but have your gas on and your water on. It just doesn't make sense to me. So it's just an objective trigger that says, in this case, you can bill, in this case, you can't, so we don't argue about whether or not there's trash sitting out in front of the house.
How many people would you say annually are we talking about? How many incidents are we talking about?
I'm not sure, perhaps Chris Ware from the City Attorney's Office might be able to help us with that.
Yeah, and I am Chris Ware from the Attorney's Office. I don't really have statistics to give you on that. As the person who's been primarily responsible for handling garbage complaints for the last 8 years, I can say probably a very, very small number of people really want to turn off either utility. I mean, the reality is almost everybody, even when they leave, keeps the electric and water on, either for landscaping or security or both. So the real goal originally of changing this to an objective black and white test to, avoid endless arguments over whether somebody was generating garbage or not. It was just simply to make it a black and white test, and rather than make them jump through the hoops of proving all utilities were off, we just selected water. As a staff person, electricity to me is as good as water as long as it is to Republic. They have no objection, and there may be, according to the people who have contacted Councilmember Ross, some HOAs that are capable of keeping some landscaping going if we would just change that test. So we think it will potentially help some properties. I don't want to be overly optimistic and say it's going to help out, a large percentage of properties. So I'm not that very responsive.
And I have to tell you, I'm not really overly optimistic that the people are going to keep their water on, because that costs money. And then also, if they do keep the water on, you probably are going to get some garbage, aren't you? If you mow it or
That's probably
rake it or...
That's probably true, although in theory, they could have a landscape maintenance company actually come and take care of the garbage away.
Except a lot of the people that are doing this can't afford the landscape companies. This is the situation in probably both our wards.
It's certainly a less than perfect
HOAs
system.
now, there you're different, you see. But we don't have that many HOAs in our ward. We have some, but not a whole lot. I'm just telling you, there's a big difference. And as I pass homes which are vacant now, and the grass is dead, I don't know if they would keep it on, because then they'd have to, have to mow it, have to stack it.
So is this, just so that I'm clear, and I've read through it, but it's still fairly cloudy for me, is this objective of the bill, the ordinance, to get the residents to clean up their property versus who picks up the trash, or the city's benefiting? What is it?
Well, I think it's designed, Councilman, so that people who aren't at the property, the property's vacant for whatever reason, whether it's abandoned or it's, wintertime, whatever it is, it's vacant. Nobody's generating any garbage. They want to be able to avoid having to pay for garbage service when there's no garbage being generated. It used to be tied to the water. Now, in today's day and age, if you have a manual water system and the house is vacant, your lawn's dying, unless you got your neighbor coming over, turning it on and mowing it for you and taking care of it, which I suppose is possible. Most homes today have automatic systems that have to run on electricity. So if it's a summer home or home you're going to come back to, or home you're going to lease out or rent out, you're not going to let the lawn die. Typically, you're going to maintain it, and so it's going to be on. In those cases where you have an abandoned home, it's likely going to go dead anyway. So the issue was, there may be some cases, as Chris pointed out, and maybe they're unique to Ward 6, but I doubt that they're unique to that area, but there may be cases where you may have a homeowners association that's trying to keep the lawn going. There's no they want to keep the water on, but they're they're having a service come through to maintain that for them as part of the association. And so there isn't any garbage being generated, and it's left there at the house for pickup, but they want to be able to keep the landscape up, and they need the water to be able to do that. And I think that's all that this is about, so that we don't have a situation of an unpaid garbage collection bill going at a place where an association's trying to maintain the property so that the rest of the value in the neighborhood stays up. I think that's probably really what we're trying to do here.
So the primary purpose is those where you might be HOAs. And
I think that's where the target.
and as far as the others, you feel it wouldn't make a difference if it's electricity or water?
Maybe a handful of people, but it wouldn't be very substantial. But that's my opinion.
Yes, and now comments from the audience?
Good afternoon. My name is Teddy Russell, a resident of Las Vegas. This is absolutely brilliant. The next time I see Ross, I will ask him who really gave this to him. Bob, it is so good to have you on board with this. Across the city, this covers a multitude of sins. My first concern is fire safety. It is much better to have water on than electric on. I have a pet peeve. You go to Main Street Station, and this is owned by Mr. Bill Boyd, thank you very much. At the far end of his property near Bonanza, there is one after the other, after the other, after the other, trees just cut down for one reason or another. I have no idea. But it is done. You go to the Foley Federal Courthouse right now. The federal courthouse has trees that have just been whacked out. What it is saying is that if in the case of manual, you can do different things, but as I say, it is wonderful for safety. It is very good for keeping lawns that would not otherwise be kept if we have the old-fashioned manual system. If the electric, if they have the smart watering or the involvement with the electric and it's off, they're just out of business, SOL, whatever. But I think this is very good in many ways. I think you'll find out that it affects a great deal more than you are thinking right now. How many times do we see a fire hazard when we look at these pictures with all these dried up things? So I'm if that's making any sense at all to you, I'm for it 100%. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, this doesn't require that they leave on the water. They could shut off everything, but it's just when they're making a choice. Okay, I believe I'll probably get that question. That's what I wanted to answer. Do you have any more comments?
No, I'm good. Oh, well, I do have a comment for Public Services, Bob. Speaking more so toward the abandoned homes, the individuals who have lost their homes due to foreclosure in this economy, when your service comes through the neighborhood and the home is foreclosed and there's trash out at the curb, no power, no water, how does Republic Service handle that pickup?
I actually just received that question from a homeowners association in the city of North Las Vegas, and what we've done is developed sort of a letter that we're sending out to homeowners association property management companies.
No, I'm just saying, just a regular tract home that lacks the HOA.
Yeah, we will pick the material up. Just so long as we know that there's a problem at the house. Typically, in the city of Las Vegas, where a home is not in a homeowners association, we'll get a call from code enforcement saying that there was a problem at this home, or somebody moved out and left a big mess, and we'll actually dispatch a special crew up there to pick all that up. Because what happens is when it sits in front of the house, it just begets more problems throughout the rest of the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Now, is there any liens, or how does Republic recoup their funds? How does the city recoup its services in that respect, or is it just a wash?
In a foreclosure situation, the home is liened, so that the bank becomes responsible for the trash collection bill.
Okay.
Any other comments? Mr. Councilman?
Yes, I would like to move for due pass.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion do
Thank you.
passes. Thank you very, very much. And now we have the time where we can have any more public participation if anybody wants to come make a comment. Teddy, you want to make a comment for us, too?
More than one, perhaps. My name is Teddy Russell. I'm a resident of Las Vegas. I have 3 suggestions for revenue-raising laws. They will be controversial. They will be outrageous. They are enormously important. First of all, hold on to your hats, please. Anyone using a hand cell phone while driving within the city of Las Vegas, first offense, $250. Second offense, $500. You may use those speakerphone things if you wish. I am a walker. I walk 15 miles a day through the desert, God is my witness, on the average day. I can't tell you how many judicious jaywalkings I do. Nonetheless, the things that go on, and this is a pedestrian. You all have cars, maybe you don't have cars. It doesn't matter. I had warned that I was going to also be lobbying I'm not a lobbyist, I'm an activist with the Nevada State Legislature to make this statewide. The next one is spitting. This is a medieval, dangerous, the bubonic plague is involved with spitting and this and that. I don't want to go into all the gross details. I am a gentleman. I'm tough. I'm as manly as they are, any is or would be. I never need to spit. In the few cases that I've had to spit, I went to a restroom and used proper facilities. I think it's deplorable, appalling, and disgusting. Every time spitting, 100, 150, 250. And then the third one, I'm trying to think of what really pushes my buttons. Let's just leave it at those 2 for now. Oh yes, the third, I'm sorry. I'm often being kidded and hazed and pushed and bullied and this and that. The latest was when I was making my report for attempted murder. The fun guy at the sergeant's desk, when I dropped a cigarette butt, said, "Now you're offending the anti-litter law." Do we have an anti-litter law in the city of Las Vegas?
I don't know the answer to that question.
In Philadelphia, if somebody dropped a tissue and was caught, it would be $250. Now, I realize it's a different thing and this and that. We're in a much more severe environment, that wind thing and this and that. Littering. Do we have first instance, $100. Second instance, $200. Third instance, $500. I don't know who finds out these things, but we are a civilized city. If Philadelphia can do it, I'm sure we can too. This is what I have for raising revenue. These things are very unpleasant, very less than world class, and I would hope that we would have your consideration for these revenue and welfare gaining laws. Thank you very much.
Question for you.
Yes.
Did you state that you dropped your cigarette butt, or was it someone else dropping a cigarette butt?
I just dropped my cigarette butt in the rotunda where the wind will take it away or whatever, and he says, "Oh, now you're going to go do the anti..." It was like a thing. You had to be there. I mean, which is to say...
No, I was just asking for the clarification because you mentioned that...
I don't think there is a littering law.
No. I'm just going back to your first statement as far as spitting. You didn't like spitting, but you're okay with dropping a cigarette butt, and where spit evaporates and the cigarette butt is trash.
You know, I don't even want to answer that.
Okay, don't. Think about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That was an excellent exchange, and if there's no further comments wanting to be made, I adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Look, spit all you want. Stop dropping those cigarette butts.